Hey everyone, Travis here on day 2 of PAX Prime. Behind us, there's a Cloud9 curse match, but I am here with DrunkScarra himself. Comely, are you coach, analyst? What is your role officially with Dignitas?
It's like a combination, maybe like a coachalist. Yeah, something like that.
A coachalist, and
Don't mix it up the other way.
yeah, oh yeah, that would be bad. That would be very bad. Now, what are you doing here at PAX? Were you brought in? Did you come here just for the event, or were you brought in specifically for yesterday's match? What?
Well, it was really great to be here for yesterday's match, obviously, but I just kind of wanted to experience PAX. I'd never been to a PAX before, so it was a good excuse to come out here and have it be, easy.
That's fair. That's fair. I'll accept it. No, what did you think of yesterday's match against CLG? I mean, obviously very happy because you won, but
yeah, obviously we're really happy. We're not happy to be out of relegations. That's great. That's not really the goal that we had set for the season or anything like that, but the games went pretty much exactly like we expected. We had really good plans and really good adjustments between the games as well. Everything was exactly what we expected, so I was really happy with that.
Now, how long have you been working with Dignitas?
The entire season. The entire season I've been with the team.
We're talking about all of 2014 then, almost a year soon.
Something like that, yeah.
And during that time, what have you learned about working with Dignitas? Because I'm sure it's an interesting team, right?
It's a fascinating team. There's a lot of different personalities in Dignitas that work a lot of different ways, and it can get really bogged down if you get caught up in the personalities. And my big thing has always been there's a lot of players that I really respect, but there's nobody that I idolize so much that I dehumanize them. So I know that they're humans. I know that they have goals behind everything that they're doing, and I try to relate to them as much as I can on a personal level.
Now, people will also point out that Scarra is listed as a coach.
Yeah.
So how does this work? Is it like a yin-yang situation?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Scarra is there, he's in the house, he knows the personalities, he knows how to deal with the players, and so he's really kind of the personality guy, and then I just try to do everything that I can to filter information to Scarra, and then have him put it to the players, and that's really great for me because I don't like dealing with maybe players if they're particularly frustrating personalities, which may or may not exist on Dignitas, so it's really great that I have him to kind of do the things that I'm not good at, and then there's certain things that maybe he's not great at yet with coaching, stepping into a new role that I might be more experienced with that I can help him with.
So he like funnels your information into their heads.
Yeah, and I mean we're constantly talking during games and stuff and trying to get on the same page, and having two minds work on a problem can be a lot more effective than just one guy making his best guess. So I think that even if it's one person talking out loud, that helps a lot. So having the other person to constantly bounce stuff off, I think makes us a lot stronger than we would be alone.
I've heard a lot of people give their ideas or reasoning behind why Dignitas had the strong start and then the drop-off at the end, which seems to happen very often with that team. I'm curious if you have any insight.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of, well, I could talk for hours about this, but one of the things was at the beginning of the season, there were a lot of problems that were really apparent on the team. And I could look and I could say, okay, here are all the problems that we need to fix as a team. Conveniently, there were a lot of solutions to those problems that were not actually fixing the problem. So there were picks and strategies and things like that that we could use to cover up those mistakes. And that was really great. And we were still working towards fixing them. But in the meantime, it was nice to have that crutch. And then based on balance changes and meta things, those things were taken away one at a time until you were left with the raw essence of the problems that were there. And we just didn't have enough time. They weren't fixed by the time that happened. I think by the end of the season, a lot of them started just finally coming together, which is like, well, it's great to know that it worked and we were seeing this stuff work, but it was also really frustrating to have it come together at the end, which obviously isn't ideal.
When you look at Dignitas right now, do you think that it's just in order to fix the problems that are there, you think it's just a time issue? Or do you think I know you're probably not able to talk about like roster changes or anything like that, but yeah. Any thoughts on Dignitas as it stands?
Well, the thing was, it's like, okay, like when you're remodeling a house, it's like, man, we're going to make this so beautiful, and then you start ripping out the floors and it's asbestos, and you're like, oh, this is going to take longer than I thought. But I think it's settling in enough now that we have a clear vision for what we need to do and going forward. As far as roster changes and stuff like that, I mean, that's out of my wheelhouse. That's not something that's really Scarra's area. And if he decides that we can make a bigger jump by doing that, we'll definitely look towards it. But it's really great to know that we have those pieces in place now as an organization where we're confident at least that we were going in the right direction with things.
Now, there has been a huge rise in the discussion around coaches, analysts, and their role with the team. specifically with so many people talking about Monte Cristo's involvement in CLG, but that sparked a discussion around Charlie with C9 and you with Dignitas or anything like that.
Right.
I was curious if you have any thoughts or anything that you want to chime in on camera around even just like the CLG situation.
Well, the thing is, like, I'm really lucky because I'm a remote analyst, coach, whatever, but I have Scarra. And if I didn't have that, I would feel like I couldn't do what I need to do. What I want to do would be it would be too hard. And I think that if you look at C9, C9 is an incredibly mature acting team. And I think that maybe that they are much better with that kind of setup because of that. But when you have teams with really big personalities like Dignitas, like CLG, I think that it becomes much less valuable to have that kind of remote without the anchor there. And I know that they have, I think Zix is the in-house analyst they have. And I don't know if he didn't have time to establish the same kind of thing. Obviously, Scarra has a lot of time with the team to be that anchor. But it's so difficult. But it's also like, it's absurd that people are like, everybody's like all polls. It's either it's fantastic, great, brilliant, or it's terrible, awful, how dare you have this setup, where things are gray. Would he be more effective in a different setup? Yes. Does that mean that he's ineffective? No. Does that mean that you can't have that and a coach and have him be something that adds to the pool? Well, of course. I mean, that sounds like a great idea. And I think people are just way too binary about it.
Now, we've had a serious conversation, but I've saved some of the most serious questions for the end here. I'm really curious, have you seen Scarra drunk before, now that you work so closely with him or spoken to him while he's drunk, and had that influence your tweets on the DrunkScarra account? Like what has been working with the man who you mocked so long, like?
It was really awkward at first because like when he first knew that like it was me, I was like, hey, what's up? But the most I've ever seen him drink is like 2 ciders. So he like he's not a drinker. So in my head, I create like a fantasy character in a world where he's just like an alcoholic, like straight up, which is funny because he doesn't drink a lot. Otherwise, it'd be like morose, right? So because you can take that character to a ridiculous place is actually pretty good.
Do you have a visualization? Do you do any? Did you become the character of DrunkScarra when you tweet?
Oh, yeah.
How do you really transition into that role?
Scotch is really the key. I find that if you get slightly tipsy, you can really enter the mind space of the drunkard. Yeah.
Do you surround yourself with images of Cutie Pie and Kiwi Kid and bowl cuts and that kind of thing at that point?
No. I did once have a dream about the Team Dignitas, and that's when I knew that I was working too hard. That was truly horrifying. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen again.
Good. Well, so many people have seen your work, seen you on the stage of the Twitter account. I was curious if you had anything you wanted to say to them or any of the people who are vaguely aware that you have some sort of involvement with the team.
No. Keep mostly ignoring me at events. I really like flying under the radar. So when you see this, just pretend like you don't.
We'll just probably think you're glycerol.
I'll happily take that.
Thank you so much for the interview. I've learned so much about coaching and drinking. You can check out the rest of our coverage of all things PAX at ongamers.com.